Hi, Jeff Rhodes here with another video about Microsoft 365 based on my book that you can see here. We can go check it out on Amazon or get on other retailers. Come down, see, actually doing pretty well right now. Have kind of strange categories here for C and C++ programming. It's not really where it is, but check it out if you want to. What I wanted to do today is really all about Power Automate, and question came up on how to deal with a form. So this is like a webmaster form that gets sent, and you know, if the from address is who we wanted to send the email back to, because what the use case is that we want to send them a response, automated response saying, hey, we're going to deal with your question, or we can't deal with this. Maybe we'll want to go in and go to this topic and give them some help, self-help, something like that. But we have an existing process that sends the email from the webmaster, and I've just simulated that by sending it from my Gmail account over to my Microsoft account. And I'll trust that sender there so we can see a little bit better. And the hard part is there can be all kinds of stuff inside this email, and what we're trying to do is get our hands on the name of who sent the email and the email address. And you see in this particular form it's got a parentheses. And so big picture, what we want to do is we can get this whole text, and it's as HTML. We'll convert it to plain text, and then we need to go line by line because we can't really rely exactly how many lines it's going to be. So we'll split it, and we're going to use that split several times. So if we split on a carriage return line feed so that each of our, make an array, think of like a word table with a different row on each one, then we can look for this line. Once we get this line, then we have to split to get it again. So we're going to do some index. Sorry, it's the index of, we're going to find the position of that colon, and then we're going to also find the position of this left parentheses using the fact that that's only once on the line. Then we can do a little bit of math with the substring function to get our hands on that text. So a little bit involved, but thought it might be useful, and certainly once we have that piece, that's really all just to get the names of the person and the email address to send it to. It's fairly straightforward to do the rest. So for testing, what I did is I made a folder called parse email, and I've just put this in there, and then I'm going to use a get email to look at it. But in the general sense, that you'll have like a rule, maybe put it into this folder, and then do this on every email that comes in. And maybe a little bit of logic that if it came from the webmaster, we launch into this whole process. If it came right from a user, then we can send them a message directly because we already have their from address. So let's give it a shot. So we're going to do everything in Power Automate. So I'm going to come over. And this is one, since I'm just testing, trying to get the logic, I'll make it a manual flow. We're not going to try to trigger it on the email or anything in this case. So I'm going to say create, and I'll say an instant or manual cloud flow, and I'll just call this video parse email body, so I remember what it did, and I'll manually trigger the flow. And it's doing in my new designer. I won't need Copilot in this case. So first thing I'm going to do is go into Outlook, and I'm going to get emails v3. And I've been doing this a lot in various videos, so we're not going to limit it to only attachments. We are going to change the folder though. So notice I can grab that parse email. We're not going to limit it to only unread messages. And I could change the top 10, but I'm actually only trying to do with one email. So that's good enough right now. And then we got a bunch of variables. And you've heard me say in other ones, I tend to use more variables than I really need. but they're really helpful. These things are hard to debug and so forth. So I like to just put a lot of variables so I can go into the debug and see what they are. Okay, so I'm going to make this var email body, and I'm not going to set it here. One other thing is you have to initialize the variables outside the loop. So like we're going to loop through all the emails because there could be multiple ones there. So we initialize all the variables up front. And I'm going to do another one. It's weird that sometimes what I want's in that first list and sometimes it isn't. So I'm going to call it var name. So eventually that's what I'm going to put Paul McCartney in. You can just fast forward for a minute if you don't want to see me make all these variables. And we got var email address. That's the second thing we want. And I've talked about before, I like to put those up in the description so I can just look straight down and see what they're doing without having to open up each action. I'm going to just call this, I should have called it var email body array, but I'll just call it email body array. Because in my example I did it that way. But that's going to be type array, so that's kind of what's unusual. We don't use arrays all that often in examples I've done, but in this case we're going to need that parse or the split function that we're going to use later makes an array, so we need to have an array variable to put it into. And then this one's kind of fun. I had to look online and see if anybody had figured out how to do a split on that carriage return line feed, and I saw somebody, unfortunately I didn't keep track of where I got it, so whoever it was that had this idea, great job, but I didn't keep track of it. So this one it was kind of cool what they did, because there's not a CRLF symbol or something, but they literally went in for the value and just pressed the enter key to get that line break variable there. So that's what that is. Alright, so what we want to do now is we want to go to controls and apply to each, and I'll just say loop through emails and folder, and there's only one choice, the body value there. And then now I got to set a bunch of this stuff. So go back to my variables. So I'm going to set first the var email body. And I'll put it here, var. And what I want to do is go into the email and grab the body. So it kind of makes sense. And again, I probably didn't need that email, that variable, but it's kind of nice just to be able to set it and be able to look at it there. And then one thing I need is called HTML. I don't find it that way. Let's see. Just search. There it is. Yeah, so it's because I didn't put a space. So I need the HTML to text, and I'll probably change this, convert body to plain text. Like that. And I'll go ahead and just put in that variable like that. So that gets out all the tags and stuff. So we'll go look at the variables in a minute. And then now we do another variable. And I'm going to set the email body array and what I want to do here is going to go to my function here. And what I want to do is split. So you can see it says required. If I actually need to scroll this up a little bit. Actually, couldn't quite see that on the screen there. Let's see if I can get it. Oh, let me move this down. Well, sometimes I can't. So anyway, I just have to take my word for it. I can't quite see the whole documentation just so I have my screen share. But the first parameter is the text that I'm trying to split. So what I want to do is grab this plain text content like that. And then the second parameter, oh, there it kind of shows the separator. That's where I want to grab the line break, like that. And I'll say add. So that'll give me an array. Oh, and I need to set email body array like that. And now I need to loop through each line until I get the line that we want. So I'm going to loop. So again, do apply to each. And I'll say loop through array like that. And what I want is it's that current one there. That. Alright, and then what we want to do is we want to compose and I'm going to call this read item of array. And we want to read the current item. So that'll just kind of help us read that one. And then that's going to go line by line. Some of them will be blank and so forth. So now we want to do a condition. I'll just say look for a line we want. We'll all say line with name and email address. So what we want here is we want to do a condition. So we want to have the outputs. So that's the line of the array. And if we say contains, and we go back to our email, we really want this part, right? Like that. So I just paste it. So it contains the submission was sent by colon. That's sure that almost certainly not to be anywhere else in there. So if it's true, then what we got to do is set a bunch more stuff. So let's come back over here and go back to variables. Oh, and I missed one of my variables because I'm not seeing the one we wanted. I wanted a var email line. Looks like I forgot it up there, but that's okay. Let's just go add it. Just put it at the back here. Another variable because I wanted to get the whole line so I could play with it. So I'm going to say initialize. I'll call it var email line, and that's a string. There we go. Now I can go over here. Set var email line. And that'll again be that read item of the array. So we can just kind of put that in the line that we have it. And actually, let's just stop it there. Before we go through there, let's see how it works. Make sure everything's working before we go start parsing that line and everything. And that'll help understand how it works too. So let's just go test, manual test. Oops. Uses my two permissions. I'm going to run it. Oh, it's like the result of the evaluation is a type object. The result must be an array. All right, let's go look, see if we can figure out what's going on. So that'll be all right. So let's go look at this set email array. So this actually looks like what we were looking for. See, each item in the quotes is a separate value of the array. So we get the first line, then we get some blank lines. We get, there's the line we actually looked through. So that actually looks like it's okay. By the way, here's the email body. Let's go look at that while we're at it. See how it has all this HTML stuff in it? So it's really hard to deal with. So that's why we went and put it in plain text. Let's see if we can see the output. Yeah, see the output now is plain text. So that this part was all good, but then we looped through the array. So let me pause for a minute. I probably didn't do my, from my sample, I did myself first. So back in a second. All right, well, I'm back. Let's edit this. I think I might know what I did wrong. Yeah, so when I loop through the array, I needed to actually put the array itself. I kind of got ahead of myself. So what I need is the array here, and then when I read the array, let's make sure this is the right item. This should be the item from the loop through array. So I think it is. So let's try it again. So that was my mistake. I was reading the current item from the overall loop from like this. I was reading it from this loop, it looked like. So let's see if it works better. You can see it's running it there. All right, no errors this time. So let's look at our read item. So that's the first line. Actually, I'm not sure why. Oh yeah. Sometimes it does that where it won't give me the next, like the next previous. So I'm not quite sure how to do that. Let's see if I can get it to go. Let me just come out of it and come back in, see if it gives me a little bit better view of it. I might have to go to the old designer rather than the new one. Oh, there we go. See how I didn't have this 1 out of 28 before. So what I'm looking for is, so there's 28 total rows, and we're looking for when this went true. And it should be about the 5th or 6th one, because remember we saw a bunch of blank lines. Yeah, there it went. So I've got the email line. All right, the submission was sent by Paul McCartney, paul@mccartney.com. Okay, so far so good with a brief hiccup on that one error. So let's go back to edit. And actually, it can be kind of helpful. Let me bring up Notepad for a minute. So here's a new tab I'm bringing over. Let's see if I can put that in there. And I could have copied it right from from Power Automate, but I can do it just as easily from here. So what we're expecting, so the gist of what we're going to want to do is we want to find the position of this colon here. So we can guess it. We can end up being off because it starts counting with 0 instead of 1. But it's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So basically we find this position, we add 1 to it to count for the space, and then we're going to find the position of this left parentheses, and we'll use that for 2 because that will help with the length, because we basically want this amount of length. And then we'll use the fact that the line ends with parentheses, so we don't need to do another search for this because it's at the end of the line. And then we'll grab the email address. So a little tedious, but that'll work fine. We only have to kind of go for each type of email, we only have to go through it once. So we'll go for it. All right, so let's get back over here. So a bunch more variables. So we're going, and that's why I named these var. Oh, and I wonder why. Geez, I guess I didn't do as many variables as I thought. Yeah, I guess didn't do my whole list, but that's right, there's a few more that I need. So I'll put them in here. So I wanted one called var : pause, and this is going to be a number, an integer. That's going to be that number I just counted there. And I need a left parentheses pause. I'll say parens pause like that. And I need a var email link or length. All right. Hopefully that's all the ones, but we'll see when I go to start setting them there. So var : pause. And what we want to do here is we use the index of function. So we say index of, like that. And the first bit is the string. So we're going to use that var email line. And then the second parameter is what we're trying to find. So we just put we do single quotes. We just put the colon like that. Okay, so that'll tell us the number that we want. Okay, let's add another one. Oh, and I want to say set var pause like that. And very similar. Set var left parentheses pause, almost the exact same thing. This is going to be the left parentheses like that. Whoops. Got this extra set of quotes here on me. Yeah, I think it was trying to help me there and fill out my thing, but that should do it now. It's good to be too helpful and put extra parentheses in for me. And we want variable again. Oh, I did miss one that I want. I need a name length instead of, in addition to email length. So go back here. That's kind of how I do it. I just add variables as I go, as I realize I need them anyway. So copy that. All right, come back down here. And let's set the name here. Yeah, to sort of to figure out this next function, we kind of got to go back to Notepad for a minute. So let's go in and I forgot to write this down. So I think this was like 23 or whatever, but let's do it again. 1, 2. So 27. So we'll say colon pos is 27. Like I said, we may be off. We'll check it in a minute. For this purpose, it doesn't really matter if we're off by 1. And then, so that's 27 here. So we got 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. And this obviously varies. If, it's Rumpelstiltskin, it's going to be longer, and so forth. So what we're trying to do is figure out how long this is. And that's what I mean, the var name length. Okay? And we can count it, just in this case, to check our math. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. But we want to do it mathematically. So really, if you think about it, what we want to do is we want to take this position, the 44, minus that position, the 27. But you can see we're off by 3. And the 3 has to do with, this space and that space and the fact that we're, counting from 0 or whatever. So if you looked at the actual formula we want this to be var left parens pos minus var colon pos minus 3. Okay, so what we need to do is just translate that into what we have. It's inside Power, whoops, I don't want that one, inside Power Automate. So first thing we need to know is the subtraction is just the sub function. Okay, so we can get our variable, which is the left paren pos. But then we want to, actually it's easier if we go back, again I know it's a little complicated, another way to do this, if we did parentheses, we go like that. And we say, okay, we'll add 3 to that and subtract the basis. And since we can't do the sub with 2 parameters, we can't do the 3 and the var colon pos, this is actually easier. At least that's how I did it. So because of that, I did an add, and I did the var colon pos, comma, 3. And so that's the translation to that same one. So I know it's a little intense there, but hopefully that makes sense. And now that we have that, we can go ahead and get one of our two objectives that we want. We want to have the var name and we want to do the substring. And again, unfortunately, this is kind of pulled off the top of the thing, the top. But the first parameter is what we're grabbing our string to be. So that's the whole line. Okay, and then the next one is the starting position. Oh, and now it comes up. See, the first one was the text. Now it's the start index. So we use that same add function. And we get that colon position, and we add 2. And then what we want is, the third one is the length. So that's why we did that var name length like that. Nice. So we almost there. Got to basically do the same thing for the email. Okay, so we're going to do variable again. Var email length. And very similar kind of logic. So let's come over here. We're going to say sub. Going to grid the email line. And what we're going to do is just add the 2 to the left paren position. Okay, so let's see if we can figure that out. Oh, yeah, and I see why. No, this isn't quite right. That's why it didn't make any sense to me either. Let's try that again. Yeah, so I missed a step. So we need to get the length of the entire line. So let's actually go back to the notepad and figure that out. So the entire length, we figured out this was 44, so we got 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63. So if we kind of go down length 63, and then what we want to subtract is we have this left parentheses portion. So we want to subtract, we want to basically have 63 minus 44, okay, which is equal to 19. But what we really want is, let's add it up. So we go 3, 4, 5. So we have 18. So we want to subtract 1. Now, this one, it looks like I counted a little bit off because on my sample I did it by 2, but basically the same thing. And what's easy to do is we put these in. If we're off by 1 or whatever, we can test it. You know, we can adjust it just by looking at the data. So we're going to do that same add, and we'll put the left paren pause and then put 2 in there. Oh, and I missed probably, let's see, so we got length. Oh, it looks like I'm missing a parentheses there. See if that's enough. Yep. All right. And then now we can add one more variable, or set one more variable. So we'll say var email address. All right. Same kind of thing as we did for the name. So let's see if we can figure out the logic here. So we want to do substring. First parameter is the whole line. And we want the start index. So we're going to add one to the variable, the left parentheses position. One. Then we need the length again, and we just did that. Var email length. So that should be it. Right there. Whew. Now that when I showed it to the customer, they're like, well, that's kind of a lot of work. And say, yeah, this is kind of like old school, string programming, if you will. But if you've got a consistent email that's coming in, you just got to figure it out once, and then you can use that going forward. So let's test it, see if it worked, and if not, we'll adjust it. So it's working on it. Let's scroll up a little bit. There we go. See if it gave us our, yeah, it still did that loop through array again, like before, where it didn't show us, so we can flip through it. So we'll have to click into it and do it again. Here we go. We look until this turns green right there, then we know we're on the right line. Oops, I went past it. Oh, I guess I didn't click that. All right, so that works well. So let me move this over a little bit. There we go. So we got the line, we got the colon position. Oh, it said 26. What did we say in our thing? We said 27. So like I said, I think it's because I started at 1 and it counts the first thing as 0. So, but it's close. Left paren position is 43. Again, I probably have the same problem. Said, yeah, 44. So I'll quit checking that, but looks like our math should be okay. The length is 14. So our name is Paul McCartney. And you can see, if we look in here, there's not any extra spaces or anything. So we nailed that one. So that's good. Email length 18. Our email address, paul@mccartney.com. So it worked. After 39 minutes, we made it work. I guess a couple of that was getting spun up there. So appreciate your time. Hope that was helpful. Leave some comments in the replies there, and subscribe to the channel if you like what you see and you want more videos. Thanks. Have a great day.